The year is 1873. Oscar II is crowned King of Sweden and Norway, surrounded by his bemedaled subjects. The Archbishop anoints him to his elevated position. But most of Sweden's 4 million inhabitants lead a dull and strenuous existence. They work 11 or 12 hours a day, and there's no such thing as an annual vacation. Women and children often share their heavy work. Equipment, tools and machines are either very simple or don't exist at all. They live on the borderline of destitution. A bad harvest at one end of the country cannot be helped because there are such poor communications. So many people choose to emigrate, mainly to America. But industrialization, which provides a foundation for better living, is on its way. There are occasional revolutionary changes. The navvies and the railway open up the country. The railway will bring people together with the necessities of life, raw materials and factories. Over 500 industries are being started over a 5-year period. The steam whistle cuts through isolated areas and promises a new future for the underdeveloped country called Sweden.
The Atlas Company, AB Atlas, is founded in this era of pioneering spirit and belief in the future. It will manufacture material for building and running railways. The plants are located in Stockholm and Södertälje, and among the founders is the financier and industrialist A.O. Wallenberg. After only a couple of years, turnover is 4 million crowns, and with 700 employees, Atlas is for a while the largest engineering company in Sweden. In 1876, over 600 railway carriages are delivered, and a few years later, the first Atlas locomotive is built. Congratulations have come from far and wide.
Congratulations from His Majesty, the King of Sweden and Norway.
There's activity on the social front, too. Soon a sick benefit society is formed in the company. The employees will have the right to free medical care and medicine. But the history of Atlas is not entirely a success story. Setbacks and major losses lie ahead. A depression, a drop in orders, overcapacity. Atlas tries to keep up employment by doing joinery work and building bridges like the Vasa Bridge in Stockholm. More closely connected with the original products is the manufacture of horse trams. But still, sales are dropping. The 1880s are difficult years. What will the 90s bring?
Sweden, 1890. A nation on the march, a society in change. Like many 1st of May demonstrations to come, the first May Day demands equal direct suffrage for men and women, and an 8-hour working day. During the 90s, a great number of technical inventions came to Sweden. Edison's phonograph, the automobile, and the first moving picture. With the taming of electricity, the horse-drawn trams develop a new type of horsepower. But at the beginning of the 1890s, AB Atlas is fighting desperately for its existence.
Only a complete reconstruction can save the company. The owners are invited to sell their shares to a new company called the new AB Atlas. The greatest loss, over 2 million crowns, is borne by the Wallenberg family. A wide range of products has developed, from a steam-driven excavator like this one, to boilers, steam engines, motor pumps, conveyors and heating systems, just to name a few examples. Now central heating is being introduced for public buildings, and Atlas delivers the heating system for the new opera house. Atlas also has a new managing director, Oscar Lamb, a clever management executive with his eyes on the future. Among other things, he introduces a system during the 90s whereby the employees share in the profits and participate in a form of accident and pension fund. He also initiates a cleanup of the wide range of products and increases the manufacture of locomotives. And now, at the beginning of the 1890s, the first contact is made with a product that is to have decisive significance, compressed air, and it was all brought about by a coincidence. One of the company's engineers, Gustav Ryd, has been on study visits to the United States and England and has brought home a caulking hammer and a riveter. They are put into use in the Atlas shops. Despite the interest of other companies in these remarkably effective tools, no one has thought of manufacturing them in large quantities. Not until the turn of the century are compressed air tools and compressors manufactured for quantity sales. A rock drill produced in 1906 is of decisive significance for the future. It's called Cyclops and can be mounted on a tripod, on a pillar, or it can be held by one man. Earlier models were complicated and heavy, and 2 men were needed to move them. The Cyclops is a big success and is soon put to use in mines in Sweden and abroad. With compressed air, Atlas has definitely switched onto a new track. Railway carriage production ends in 1911, and when the last locomotive leaves the factory in 1917, a total of 174 steam locomotives and nearly 13,000 carriages have been delivered. Compressed air shows a way to provide industry with new tools which facilitate difficult and heavy jobs. The future seems bright for the new AB Atlas, but new difficulties are on the horizon.
During the First World War, Sweden mobilizes a large army, poorly equipped, to defend its neutrality. And they can forget the seriousness of the situation when the film camera turns up. The war and isolation lead to a shortage of food, rationing, and rising prices. In neutral Sweden in 1917, demonstrations and hunger riots break out, and in some places, bakeries and meat shops are looted. The need to flee from reality is very great, and entertainer Ernst Rolf draws large audiences. Poverty-stricken Sweden still exists in 1917, even though the industrial development of recent years has helped to provide better living conditions for many people.
This year, 1917, new AB Atlas merges with AB Diesel's motors. Back at the turn of the century, a deputy district judge, Marcus Wallenberg, bought the Swedish patent for the motor constructed by the German Rudolf Diesel. However, it's an invention which as yet proves to be far from perfect. Here's Marcus Wallenberg Jr. talking in 1948 about his father.
Han gjorde detta.
My father did this so that Sweden would have an invention that would put us ahead in this field. He also wanted to create jobs for Swedish engineers, foremen, workers and their families.
Som skulle skänka arbete och sysselsättning åt många svenska ingenjörer, förmän och arbetare och deras familjer.
Out in the suburb of Sickla, a completely new company is founded, AB Diesel's Motors. Intensive development here produces what is practically an entirely new engine. The chief designer of the company, Jonas Hesselman, manages to make the motor reversible. It can now run both forward and backwards, and that means the diesel engine can be used for ships. The polar explorer Roald Amundsen forges through the ice in his ship Fram, equipped with a 180 horsepower engine from AB Diesel's motors, to reach the South Pole in 1911. His telegram of thanks is short and to the point. There's widespread interest in the diesel engine, and the company opens a sales office in Moscow. This is done in collaboration with Atlas, which has begun to export its compressed air products on a large scale.
Mot härliga tider ska vi gå vad det lider, och livet ska börja för dig och mig. En fin affär i livet är att jämt ha gott humör. Jag skrattar jag åt det.
The Great Depression around 1930 meant not only the stock market crash in New York, but also a 40% drop in world production and over 30 million unemployed in the industrial countries. The Depression reaches Sweden too. There are many long queues outside the employment offices, and in 1933, Sweden has the highest unemployment rate in its history. Unemployment also gives rise to demonstrations. Also in 1933, Hitler is appointed Chancellor of the Reich, and in the same year, Sweden decides to cut back on its defense. A new era of flight is beginning. In 1933, the first domestic air route opens between Stockholm and Visby, and Charles Lindbergh visits Sweden.
In the wake of the Depression, Atlas diesel sales have dropped catastrophically, from 10 million crowns to 4 million. Employees have been cut from 1,000 to 500, and there's even talk of closing the business. But the board decides to keep it going. Marcus Wallenberry Jr. becomes the new board chairman, and an optimistic one. Against all odds, the shops are expanded, and new machinery is purchased. And under the shop floor, a mine is constructed for experiments, tests, and demonstrations. A new advanced rock drill is launched, the RH. It's a light rotary percussive drill, which in modified form is still used today. A new diesel compressor is introduced at the same time as the new rock drill. It has technical innovations never tried before, and it's a big success. But for the shareholders, the company is not exactly thriving. For many years, there were no dividends at all. In 1936, District Judge Marcus Wallenberg made a complaint that was to become a classic in Swedish industrial history. Few companies have caused their bankers so much worry as AB Atlas Diesel. During the 30s, about half the company's production was exported, mainly to Europe, but to a limited extent also to other parts of the world. Diesel engines are sold to Persia and Russia. Here they're being transported through Georgia. But it's above all the compressed air side that's expanding. There's a large market waiting abroad. New struggles lie ahead.
In the London Olympics of 1948, Sweden, which was spared from the Second World War, wins all sorts of awards, including a gold medal in football.
En passning tar på Bertil Nordahls ben och så går bollen fram till Gunnar Nordahl. Nu är svenska kedjan bra framme. Gunnar driver förbi en, ger bollen och Arvis får bollen tillbaka och skjuter i mål!
Sweden tries to help the war-torn countries of Europe, among other things by collecting paper. And now for what the history books usually call harvest time, when the sun shines forth in those idyllic films of the 1940s. People are buying their own homes, schools are expanding and providing for bodily needs too. Swedes still cycle a lot, and sometimes they celebrate a 75th birthday. AB Atlas Diesel has celebrated a double anniversary. AB Atlas was founded 75 years ago, and 50 years ago it merged with AB Diesel's motors to form AB Atlas Diesel. And today, no fewer than 196 faithful employees will receive medals. Pomp and circumstance for the employees who have been with Atlas for over 40 years.
When Atlas Diesel celebrates its 75th anniversary, it's a consolidated company, at last. Behind it lies heavy concentration on the world market. It has nearly 2,000 employees and sales in 40 countries. This year, 1948, the Echo factory in the town of Skara becomes a wholly owned subsidiary. This company deals in spray painting, and now they have increased resources with which to develop their technology. At the same time, the injector company in Hammarby is acquired, increasing the production of industrial tools. Since the 1930s, Atlas has also manufactured loading machines for the mining industry. When the Avos company in Örebro is acquired in 1951, it means greater development in that sector too. Meanwhile, developments are of course continuing with compressors. During the 50s, Atlas is first in the world to launch a fully air-cooled compressor and a portable screw compressor. The 1940s also see the beginning of what is called the Swedish method. Basically, this means one man, one machine. The Atlas lightweight rock drill on pusher legs and the Sandvik Coromant tungsten carbide tipped drill steels make a hard-hitting combination. With the dynamic expansion of air compressors, the manufacture of diesel engines ties up too many resources and splits production. Diesel manufacture is sold in 1948, and the managing director, Walter Wetcher, has this to say. We look at the future with optimism. We've never yet managed to cover completely the great demand for our compressors, compressed air machines, and tools. Now we should be able to meet that demand.
After the Second World War, Atlas Copco made its great advances in exports. Now about 70% of the company's production is exported. The two new plants being opened by Atlas Copco today will manufacture and assemble the major export articles, rock drills and components.
The new shops in Sickla, opened in 1961, are a result of the rapid expansion in compressed air. Moreover, in 1956, Atlas had bought the Belgian compressor company Arpic, and 10 years later, the major share of compressor manufacture takes place here. But all the time, we're on the watch for new uses for compressed air. There's a new system for keeping ferry routes ice-free in the winter. No, not by sawing, but by having compressed air bubbles bring the warmer water from the bottom up to the surface. About the same time, another new product is launched, a starting unit for jets. Because it specializes in compressed air and in international marketing, The company changes its name in 1956 from Atlas Diesel to Atlas Copco. Copco is short for the French term Compagnie Pneumatique Commerciale. In the years around 1960, the long-planned Mont Blanc tunnel is built. Atlas provides lightweight drilling equipment and compressors for the project. The humble pick gives a partial idea of the breadth of technical development. Most of the production is now sold on the international market. The company has grown to 8,000 employees. The products are as widespread geographically as they are diversified in use. When the Aswan Dam threatens to cover the pharaoh's temples under the waters of the Nile, breakers and other compressed air tools were used to save these irreplaceable cultural monuments. Rock drills and compressors are used not only in mines and tunnels, but also to drill for water. In India, for example. Now the whole world is a customer. At the beginning of the century, Atlas had only a few countries in Europe.
It's 1973, and Atlas Copco celebrates its first centenary by displaying its extensive range of products to more than 30,000 visitors, among whom was chairman of the board, Dr. Marcus Wallenberg. Also there were former managing director Kurt Alan Belfrage, chairman-to-be Peter Wallenberg, Eric Johnson, managing director at the time, and the future King of Sweden. The present managing director, Tom Wachtmeister, is to the left. The younger generation could try out the old and new tools and machines for the next century of progress. And so, the 100 years young Atlas Copco strides into its new century with substantial know-how and with continued enterprise in research and development, both in Sweden and abroad. Here, for example, is the Serac Centre in Switzerland, where long-term technical development is carried out, here with laser, to create new products which are later further developed by divisions the world over. And here's a test lab in Sweden. It can be truly said that Atlas Copco moves forward with renewed energy. Now forming a complement to compressed air is equipment driven by hydraulics. And electronics too become more commonly used. The automatic functions of this hydraulic rock drilling rig are controlled by printed circuit cards within easy reach. Simplifying, one can say that Atlas Copco now works with pressure energy, that is, by applying gas or liquid dynamics to transfer energy into useful work. For rock drilling, either underground or on the surface, hydraulics have meant great improvements in the working environment for operators. This particular hydraulic crawler drill rig marked a significant breakthrough. By acquiring Java Incorporated in the United States in 1979, Atlas Copco widened its technical know-how in tunnel driving technique and can now offer massive machines such as this one, which can drive tunnels of up to 10 meters in diameter without drilling and blasting. Environmental matters become immensely important in today's industrial world. For instance, many lakes cannot cope alone with pollution and stagnation. This installation helps restore polluted lakes through aeration by applying the compressed air bubble technique. The method is called Limno and has been jointly developed with Lund University in Sweden. Recoil and vibration-dampened pneumatic breakers and super-silenced air compressors all contribute towards better working conditions. Stationary, noise-dampened screw compressors supply clean, oil-free air for food processing and pharmaceutical industries. Atlas Copco enters the robot age. This programmable robot, the Cotomatic, makes light of heavy, monotonous work, where the working conditions can be dangerous to health. Multiple nut runners are a boon in the automotive industry. Built-in advanced controls and supervisory systems ensure that the specified torque is attained, vital for the traffic safety of the vehicle. A most important task in mining and tunnelling work is rock bolting, to prevent rock falls. In this sphere, Atlas Copco has made radical improvements. This is the one-man-operated Swell system. Water is pumped at high pressure through a steel tube bolt, which then swells to completely fill the drilled hole. With earlier methods, the roof bolts engaged only at the hole bottom. Now, the bolt sits really tight in the rock. From work to pleasure? Then release or recharge your energy at the recreation centre, close by the main works at Stockholm. A company present to personnel made during the centenary celebrations. Now pensioners, employees and their families can enjoy its many facilities at leisure. Today, Atlas Copco counts the world as its customer. And as the maps show, it's represented in more than 110 countries by its own companies or authorized distributors. Close on 20,000 employees help to make and market over 3,000 different products. This enormous development could never have been dreamed of by those who started it all, 100 years and more ago. There is every good reason for the slogan, "The world our worksite."